Hello and welcome to our third Sips with Spartan. First off, I want to take the opportunity to thank everyone who is tuning in. I can't see you because I'm not in front of the computer, but thank you so much. And everybody that tuned in for the last two times, thank you so much again. Just because of all the positive feedback and reviews that we've gotten, we've decided to continue to do these because when we first started doing the SIPs a few months back, it was really with COVID happening and all of our investors and interested parties in real estate were like, hey, what's going on? How is it affecting Birmingham? How's it affecting property management? And so we wanted to take the opportunity to kind of all get together, talk about it, and then, of course, any excuse we can think of to drink. So, yes, exactly.
Cheers.
Cheers to that.
We can actually cheers this time.
Oh, yeah, there you go. Yeah, we're back in the office.
Yeah, we missed that.
So we decided to keep them going and kind of break them up. So you guys remember last two times we had our sales department and our closing coordinator on with us. And so today I've got only Scott and Amanda, our client services managers. And so this is going to give us the opportunity to still do the updates for COVID, for all of everything happening local in Birmingham, and then also dive really deep into a lot of the common questions that that they see with property management. And they're in the thick of it every single day. That's their job, to talk to our investor clients. They're talking about evictions or AR, et cetera. I've already stole your thunder. Sorry. You guys introduce yourselves. Sorry.
Hey guys, I'm Amanda Ford, one of our client services managers. I've been at Spartan almost a year next month. It's been a great year. So excited. And my partner in crime over here,
Scott Hildebrandt. I've worked with a lot of you over the years. It's coming up on 4 years at Spartan. So it's been a privilege to work with a lot of you through your closings and now in the property management side of things. So to everybody watching, hello, and thanks for joining us.
Yeah. All right, so let's dive in. Over the last couple of weeks, we've been asking a lot of our investors, hey, what are some questions that you'd like us to discuss, same as we did last time. And so I've got these questions with me, and then if you guys have questions that we don't cover, feel free to throw them in the chat box or comment, and we'll address those as soon as we get done with these. And then if not, we'll make sure we circle back. All right, so obviously, the biggest looming question right now is kind of what's going on right now with COVID. Our economy's opening back up. Everything is starting to open back up, and we want to know how is that affecting local businesses, our local economy, property management, our tenants, our leasing, et cetera. So Amanda, I'm going to let you take that and run with that, and then of course Scott, because that's a lot going on.
Yeah.
lots going on. There's definitely been a lot going on the past few weeks, and I know over the past month, the state has had different stages of opening up. So we are back in the office, have been the past few weeks. So it's been great to be back with all of our coworkers and see each other in person. But in Birmingham and throughout the state of Alabama, we've really had soft openings happening. We have restaurants open inside at 50% capacity. Salons are open, different gyms, and businesses can decide if they do want to go ahead and open up or not at this point. Also, next week, we'll still have different entertainment venues opening up, movie theaters, concert venues will be opening up with a lot of restrictions. Over the past 2 weeks, we unfortunately still have seen COVID numbers rise. I believe we've had around 5,000 new cases in the past 2 weeks here in the state alone. But with that being said, we're still taking different necessary precautions and measures to make sure that we can open back up as safe as possible that we can right now. I know here at Spartan, our employees are back in the office, but of course we're still staying close to, outside non-employees. We've not opened our lobby back up yet. And our maintenance team as well, we're only focusing on mainly those different things that are only emergencies and repairs that need to be made, just trying to keep our tenants and our employees as safe as possible. So slowly opening back up, but really just taking as many precautions as we can. But even with the state last month, we did see unemployment numbers rise as well. Unfortunately, the state of Alabama was at 13% unemployment in May, which is really kind of on track with where we are nationally at 13.3% nationally. But I think we're really going to see those numbers go down here this month with a lot of businesses, factories, manufacturing companies opening back up to where people can't go back to work. So we're hopeful to see those numbers dwindle a little bit when it comes to unemployment, and I think we're sure on our way to that.
Yeah.
It feels like a new version of normal. Birmingham still has a mask ordinance, so we, anytime we're out in public, we wear our masks and things like that. So it's
right. So that's been extended
yeah.
to July 3rd. Continue, especially here in the downtown area. You have to have a mask on going in the different buildings and things. So taking as many measures as we can to keep everyone safe.
So how has that affected, like, with evictions? So, because that's honestly, and Scott, I'll let you run with this one, because there's a lot going on there as well. Obviously, there was a ban on any kind of set outs and foreclosures, evictions. So how is all of this affected, and what does that look like going forward?
Yeah, so we just touched on the unemployment numbers, and those are kind of obviously going to be directly tied to the amount of income that people have coming in, ability to pay rent, pay mortgages, et cetera. And so originally the plan was to have evictions start taking place again in July. But Governor Ivey, Governor of Alabama, she has moved that up to the start of June. So we're actually, as of this month, able to start processing evictions again. That's not to say we're just going to go crazy with everybody who, has had difficult times through the last couple of months. We still, want to, if you've not really kept up in the last couple, or if you missed the last couple ones, we are working with our tenants on a daily basis to understand who has, financial hardships and difficulties right now, because there are a handful of them, fortunately less than we expected. And we've given a lot of leeway to the ones who've communicated with us, openly and consistently, to let us know, hey, I'm going to go back to work this day, or I'm working this many hours now, or something like that, or I'm looking for a new job. But all that being said, we will have to kind of start making some decisions, on some tenants going forward. If we've not received any communication, we've not received any type of payment, that may be something that we, have to consider this month, at least starting the process. And, for maybe some people who aren't familiar with the eviction process in Alabama, what we do, the very first thing that we're going to do is post an eviction notice on the tenant's door, physical piece of paper taped to the door. And that does not mean your tenant's going to be evicted. It's the first line of defense for our clients, so that if we're not able to collect rent, or if we do think we're going to start going down that road, we've at least started the clock. And so that gives them a little bit of a buffer of time to make the payment, clear the debt. We can all move forward. Typically our eviction rates with our entire portfolio is at or just under 1%. So with about 1,200 properties, we're looking at less than 10 properties in eviction at any given moment. With our current projections, with tenants that we've not been able to make very much contact with, or have made no effort to pay or set up any kind of payment plan, or tenants who were on the track to eviction before we even got into the coronavirus in the first place, we are projecting a short-term increase to about 3.6%.
Yeah.
That will, and the outcomes of evictions, we know, are very widely. It can be something like we post the eviction notice in the door, and that's enough to light a fire under them to make all the payment they need, and everything's fine, and we move forward. Okay, but that's kind of where we're standing right now. May and April, as far as like overall rent collection, the last couple months, again, we've touched on this in the last couple sips, was really good. It was actually,
and we did not expect that.
Right, we were nervous. Yeah, we were nervous. I remember calling Amanda on our first day and being like, "Oh my God, this is going to be, this could be bad."
Yeah.
But for April, we've collected 93% of the rent, which 7% outstanding for April. That number is going to continue to decline. We're still collecting money there, and then for May, we still have 9% outstandings, and that number is going to continue to decline. We're still pretty early in June at this point, so we really expect to see that to continue. But now that we're able to do, start processing evictions, we'll kind of take that on a case-by-case basis, depending on the tenant situations.
Yeah, and 3.5%. I mean, it doesn't sound like a lot, but I mean, when you're historically running, at the 1% and stuff.
Yeah.
But no, I agree. The biggest thing, Miranda, our AR managers, she was saying this, that the biggest one is like the ones that are not communicating. We're working with every tenant that reaches out and asks for that help.
We want to be compassionate.
Right.
I mean, a lot of people have been put in really bad, tough situations, and it doesn't benefit our clients to lose a good tenant just because they were in a bad situation. That doesn't help anything.
Yeah, that's a lose-lose. I completely agree.
Exactly. So.
Okay, so kind of switching to the front end of the property management process and leasing. So I know we've talked a lot about this in the other two sips. It's my first class, guys. I promise. We talked about this in the last two times, but the leasing portion of that, which is so crucial for any property management company, Alabama rental property included. I mean, what does that look like for ARP right now? Where are we with our occupancy, security deposits? Are properties still getting leased up, et cetera, et cetera?
Yeah. So again, at the beginning of all of this, we were coming off of great leasing numbers from our team, and we were really sad when we all got sent home for quarantine to see what was going to happen after that. Were our numbers going to dwindle? They didn't. We've actually had great leasing numbers the past 2 months. We're at 96% occupancy, which is amazing.
Yeah.
Honestly, we're running out of houses to rent, which never happened. So
our leasing agents are all like,
really
we need more houses.
They're wanting more houses, which is great. And we're averaging about 19 deposits a week currently. So people are still out there needing to move and looking for houses, even under these circumstances right now. So we have 6 leasing agents who are out in the field every day working with potential customers and just hitting the ground running, doing an amazing job, making sure we get these houses leased as quickly as possible. So we're really thankful for that. And like I said, we're bringing on more houses. We're ready to get them leased. So
what does that look like as far as number of security deposits in a week? Did you say that number and I missed it?
Yeah. No, we're at about 19 a week right now, averaged. So that's surpasses the goal that we have for our leasing team. So right on track where we need to be, especially under these circumstances.
Man, that's awesome. And running out of inventory, that's a great problem.
We love
property
that.
management.
Yeah, exactly.
Many companies have. So just like so many other businesses out there, we've had to adjust. We kept our office closed for 2 months, so we had to adjust and make some changes for COVID. And the biggest change, which we're happy about, that Spartan's done, is our annual Spartan Summit. We have decided to take that to a virtual experience, and the sad part is that one of the goals of the Spartan Summit is to showcase Birmingham and invite investors for an educational experience and on all things passive income and opportunities, not just real estate, but then also have that conference in a market that's a good turnkey market, and showcase Birmingham and all of the changes that have happened here. So we have decided to take that to a virtual experience, but at the same time, that offers a lot of opportunities. I'll be quiet about that and let you take it from there. And as far as what that looks like.
Right. So we work all year really preparing for our annual summit. So we had to kind of switch gears a little bit the past month, but last year it was held here in Birmingham at the Westin Hotel. We had a great turnout. We love getting to actually see our investors face to face in person, because we don't really get to do that very much at all. So I was a little bummed about that when we decided to go virtual, but then my mind was immediately changed, because the content that we're going to be able to put out virtually is just going to be so amazing and more than we could have ever hoped for. And we're going to have 7 speakers who will still be talking about real estate, investment, property management, all of those great things that we were able to also talk about last year, and still showcase Birmingham. We're going to have a bunch of us going out and doing videos of food tours, different brewery tours as well, and just different landmarks here in Birmingham. So we will still get a touch and see a lot more about Birmingham, and get to see all of us on camera as well. So that is coming up in October. We actually have, it's October 8th and the 9th. And so tickets will go on sale, or registration will start July 7th. So we'll have all of that on our new website, and also a new app that will be launching for the summit. So we are very excited. Reach out to myself or Scott if you're a current investor and have any questions about how that's going to happen. But it's coming up. We're all hitting the ground running, getting things moving for that. So we can't wait for it to be here for sure.
I'm so excited about that. And the speakers that we have, we've got speakers on multifamily investments, specialized IRAs, just so many different topics, and tax accountants and everything like that. So very, very excited. And Scott has just graciously offered to do the brewery tour.
Yeah, we had to beg him, but
probably going to be the hardest.
Finally said yes.
It's probably going to be the hardest part of doing all the work, but I'm willing to put in time and effort.
Yeah, we really appreciate that.
I know that when we first had the call about whether we were going to do the virtual or do it in person again, I was so against the virtual, but it took me about 5 minutes.
It really did.
Say, okay, you know what, this is actually going to be really cool.
Really cool.
It gives us a lot of flexibility and to do some really cool things that, of course, we'd love to see everybody in person, but it really gives us some opportunity to do some things that we wouldn't
reach more people and also be more affordable. I mean, obviously not traveling.
You don't have to travel, exactly.
Yeah, so to be able to participate, I believe it's $49.99 each participant. And really cool thing about that too is you get to save and be able to go back and see all the content that we have. It will be featured live, but will be archived as well, for you have access to go and rewatch a video or presentation. So I think that is amazing to get all of that for a really small amount, small cost.
Speaking of showcasing Birmingham, and we're very, very proud of our city, but right now, cities all over the country have experienced protests and riots due to the death of George Floyd, and Birmingham is no different. And so we wanted to take this opportunity. We've had a lot of investor questions asked, or a lot of investors ask us, hey, how has this affected you guys? Or your property's been damaged, et cetera, et cetera. So we want to take this opportunity really quick. Scott, I'll let you jump in and just talk about what that's looked like for Birmingham, especially given our history and kind of, unfortunately, what we're known for.
Right. Yes. I mean, Birmingham has a really long history in the civil rights movement. I mean, there's a lot of things that happened right here in Birmingham. So it's really natural for there to have been some protests and some people out in the street here right here in Birmingham, just like a lot of people we've seen on TV and probably in your own hometowns. Largely it's been peaceful, fortunately. There was one evening that it did turn into a more violent affair, and a lot of local businesses, a couple of our neighbors right here on our street were damaged. And so even our office was boarded up for a couple of days. So it was kind of like a little bit of a surreal experience. Of course, everybody needs the right to protest. I mean, Birmingham has, if you think about the Birmingham campaign in 1963, so about 3 blocks to our west is Kelly Ingram Park and the 16th Street Baptist Church, the Civil Rights Institute. If you've ever seen photos, very famous photos of children being African-American children being hit by water hoses or German shepherds and things like that happened right here. Like we can walk. I can go there on my lunch break. It's so close. There's all these different landmarks in Birmingham, and it has a history of protests and a history of marching for human rights. In Lynn Park, there was a Confederate soldiers memorial, which was started to be taken down during one of the more violent protests, and got really think about the community of Birmingham coming together after that, and government officials, because government officials determined that this was really a big point of controversy. Yeah,
and it
absolutely.
had been for a long time.
It has been.
And it makes a lot of sense. I mean, about Birmingham City is about 3/4 African American, and Birmingham actually had no place in the Civil War whatsoever. There was no Birmingham in the Civil War, so
Right.
it seemed out of place to our community. And so the mayor, said that he'd have it down in 24 hours, and he had it down in about 36.
Yeah.
So that's kind of some of the change. But even after all of the riots and the instability, there was the community came together. I mean, all of the boarded up windows that are starting to come down now, but there was so much beautiful art put on everything. The community really came together to make sure that it stayed peaceful after that one night of really heated tension. And so we're really proud of Birmingham continuing the legacy of marching for human rights and protesting and keeping peaceful and making progress where we can.
Right,
Yeah.
and that was the biggest thing. It's kind of no matter for monuments, no matter which side you feel strongly about,
Sure.
there was a sense of pride and just admiration for all of the businesses,
Right.
with the artwork, and it was
Yeah,
Birmingham
absolutely.
strong, and
Right.
Absolutely.
there were local companies that donated to historic theaters like the Alabama Theater,
Yeah,
the Lyric Theater, that are all
Right.
on our street,
Mhm.
where companies donated
Mhm.
glass, where
Yeah.
it had been, and that was the only incident.
Yeah,
you
that was
know?
the
I
only
mean,
time.
That was the only time.
I mean, I think Birmingham set the tone that said
We're
this
not
is
gonna,
not
We're
okay.
not- yeah,
We're
it's
not
not
gonna
okay.
put up
do
with
that.
this. And so I was
Yeah.
really proud of
Mhm.
of the volunteers and just everyday people coming out and kind of
helping.
making sure
Yeah.
that we kind of righted this the ship
That
was
wrong,
just
but
that
yeah,
one
and
night. Yeah,
continuing peaceful
Right.
protests
Yeah,
and stuff. So
absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely.
All right. So now that we've kind of gone through, man, 2020 has really just thrown a lot of punches.
Yeah.
What happened to the murder hornets?
Yeah,
we don't know.
yeah.
Like we
Where
skipped
did-
over the murder.
Where did they go?
Hopefully they don't come back. Don't tempt them. Yeah.
So, I won't say the name, but
Yeah.
You heard me.
so since we've kind of touched on those very large topics and updates, we're going to take this opportunity to dive into a little bit more of just your standard property
Normal
management,
property
not in
management.
a global pandemic or anything like
No
that.
riots.
So we're going to take this opportunity to kind of dive into just some of the typical questions
Mhm.
that Scott and Amanda face with our investor clients. And the biggest one, I think, would, when you're first purchasing your rental property, there are so many questions and many things that you have to do just with the closing process, your home inspection, your appraisal, closing attorney, all of those items. And then all the information that comes from the property management. So like the marriage, the long term,
Right.
they're with you
Mhm.
guys actually.
We're here for the long run.
Yeah.
For
Yeah.
forever,
Yeah.
So, so it's just a lot of information to take
Right.
in, and it's easy to kind of put that, maybe some of the property management stuff on the back burner, which shouldn't be the case because it's the most important. That dictates your cash flow and your overall rate of return
Right.
of your investment. So, Amanda, jump into just the fees. So, Alabama rental property is obviously with Spartan. I'll let you take that. But what your typical investor, what fees are
Right.
there involved with management?
Yeah, I think you touched on a little bit. So it is a lot when you're especially a new investor. And I tell everyone on every call, it's like, hey, you don't have to have all the answers right now. This is a learning experience, and the questions will come up as we go. So that is okay if you ask us questions. And Alabama rental property, like you said, we're all one and the same with Spartan. We're in the same building, so people think it's a completely different building somewhere far, far away from everyone else.
Yeah.
But we're all here together and work on the same team to get the answers that we need. So starting out, just the main fees that we have on the property management side, of course, is going to be first our leasing fee, which is applied to the first month of the lease when the house gets tenanted. So that leasing fee is going to be equal to the rent amount. That's essentially covering, our team that's out there, our leasing agents who are finding the tenants, making that placement, and everything it takes to make that happen. So that's going to be applied there at the beginning. We also have a renewal fee. So at the end of the lease, we are able to reach out to the tenants and offer them the chance to renew their lease. Of course, if they're in good standings with us, and if they do decide to renew, it's a $500 renewal fee for each additional year that the tenant renews, which of course that's what we want, because that is a lot cheaper
It's a
than
good
having.
fee. I call that a good
It's
fee.
a great fee because it's better than having turnover costs, vacancies. I mean, that's a fee that you want for sure. And then lastly, our management fee, which is 9% of the monthly rent, comes out automatically when we make the owner draw payment. So what that covers is basically, you have the property management side, you have both of us who you're constantly in contact with for us to give you so many updates that's happening related to your property, whether it be rent collections, maintenance repairs, anything that's happening. Scott and myself are going to be able to relay that over to you.
Yeah, it's hard to understate how much work goes into property management behind the scenes.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I think most everybody's talking to just me and Amanda, but like there's a huge team of people all,
Exactly.
kind of running around with their hair on fire all the time,
Yeah.
like trying to make sure everything is under control, doing maintenance, lease renewals. There's like a lot of work that goes into that.
Right.
The leasing a property is expensive.
Right.
There's all the marketing costs and stuff that go into it. So, I think I was talking to someone today and I said, I think that all the work that you had to do on property management for an extra 9% every month that would drive me crazy personally.
Right. Exactly.
And I think that holds very true. So any investor that's managed properties on their own,
Mhm.
what I mean? Who's gone down that and had to go through the eviction and had to chase down for rent payments and chase after a plumbing bill because a G.I. Joe got flushed down a toilet,
Exactly, yeah.
stuff like that.
Absolutely.
They're like, oh, please take this property.
Right. So,
Yeah.
we just can't say enough good things about our leasing team and property management team. I know right now our year-to-date days to deposit, so the time that the house is put on the market till we get a tenant in, is 24 days. I mean, that's really great.
Awesome.
So
Yeah.
they're out there. It is a well-oiled machine with our property management team. They're out there getting tenants and making sure everybody's taken care of all the time. So they get to hear our voices a lot every day, but we're excited we get to relay everything over to our investors.
So touch on just really quick again the renewal fee, like what all goes into. I know the renewal fee, obviously it's a lot smaller than a turnover cost, and then you got the release up fee, et cetera. So, but what all do we have to do to get that renewal, to keep that tenant in there? And then are there any increases in rent that come with that?
Right. So I think it really speaks volumes when we do have tenants that are wanting to and eager to renew, because that means we did our job and we're making sure that they're happy for the entire time of the first lease amount that they had. And we have someone who is reaching out to the tenants. I believe it's between 60 to 90 days before the lease comes to an end, to approach them about making that renewal and basically working with them to make sure we don't get to the end of the lease before we've spoken with them, so we can go ahead and get it renewed. So that takes place. And then as far as the rent that's added on, we are able to go up about $25, I think it is, per lease extra, because we want to be able to have a little bit of extra cash coming in for you on those leases. But kind of is a case by case scenario, because we'd rather have that tenant stay in the house if they're not able to go up on the rent.
Right.
Some investors are okay with keeping it as is, because like we've said a million times, it's so much better than having a vacancy and having that constant cash flow coming in. So the renewal fee is your best friend.
It's a negotiation. I mean, we
Yeah.
really start about 3 months
talk
out.
about the long term too, that comes with the renewal. And
Right. Yes. I mean, $500 sounds like a lot of money to renew a lease, but we've typically just had a 2-year lease. $500 is if we renew for another year, and there's a lot of work. There really is a lot of work that goes into it. We start the negotiation real hard line. Here are your options, and then. But at the end of the day, we really want to keep your tenant. Like that is the most important thing you can
especially
do.
if they're a good tenant.
Especially if they're a good tenant. Especially if they're a good tenant. And I think we talked about this in the last SIP, is that the market dictates, how much we
The
can
rent,
up rent.
Right.
Yeah,
You know,
that's a good point.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you know, so I
Stay
mean,
competitive
if a
with
tenant can move next door for less, it doesn't make any sense to try to boost their rent for more just arbitrarily just because. You know, and to avoid a turnover and vacancy, you know, a 25, even if you were not willing to renew at the same rate in lieu for a $25 increase, it's going to take you a long time to pay off.
To recoup from that.
Yeah,
Mhm.
to recoup from a turnover and you know, a month of vacancy.
Mhm.
So, you know, our philosophy is keep your tenant as long as you can.
Right. I couldn't agree more. I mean,
Mhm.
it's definitely the game, and like again, like you said on a previous tips, is that Birmingham is just not going to see the rental rental increases that other
Yeah.
markets see.
It's gonna be
We're
really-
not going to jump up $50, $75
In a year,
Every
yeah,
year,
no.
right.
Mhm. Yeah,
Mhm.
that's just not the case.
It's
So,
yeah,
but that works both ways. It's not going to go exponentially higher, but it's also not going to go exponentially lower either. It's not going to tank.
Yeah.
It's not going to crash. So
Mhm.
again, stability is important. You know?
Mhm.
Yeah.
So what other, I guess, I say fees, and I want you to talk a little bit about maintenance and what that looks like, and then what the kind of maintenance guarantee that you get with Spartan in purchasing in purchasing a property exclusively from Spartan, and what that looks like.
Yeah. So I mean, maintenance comes with the territory. You know,
Yeah.
you own a house. You know, just like your own house that you live in, or any house on earth, you're going to have to do some maintenance over the years. You know, do some upkeep, and that's just that's not a secret. But Spartan, we've renovated all of our houses on the front end before any of our clients have purchased them, and like I just said, maintenance is an inevitability. It's going to happen. The goal of our renovation is to defer that for as long as possible. We're doing the new roof, we're doing the new HVAC, we're doing the new water heater, we're doing the flooring, we're plumbing, electrical updated where they're needed. So what we're trying to do is just put that off for as long as we possibly can, and also save you the big bucks, that could come with just waiting for something to break.
Right.
So when you buy a house, and I think we've probably all moved into a house in our life that it's great, it's awesome, I love this new house that I'm going to live in, and you live in it for about 2 months, and you notice that something is, this light switch flips on the wrong light, or you got a little leak under the sink or something like that, and that's just natural. You have a renovation, you're doing a ton of work in the house, you have the home inspection, you have the appraisal, you have our final checklist, which is extensive, and you're still going to find a couple of little minor things once a tenant moves in and actually lives in the house. So we have a guarantee. We have a maintenance guarantee. It's 90 days after the start of the lease. So once you bought your house, you waited that a month or so for us to rent it, or if maybe it's rented already when you closed, and then our warranty is going to run for their first 90 days. We think that's long enough. That's more than long enough for the tenant to kind of find the quirks,
Yeah.
of the house, and little things that might go wrong from the renovation, and we take care of all that stuff. You probably won't even know about it. We pull it out of the stack of maintenance invoices and stuff that come through. So on an average, we probably spend, and what are we at right now for post inspection or under concessions?
Right now we're at about for renovation items, we're at about 300 and I think it's like 328.
So on average, you spend about $328 after the house is rented to
Fixing.
It's always
little
just those
things.
little
Yeah.
things that are
That we
really
cover.
annoying. Yeah. And so that's how our maintenance guarantees work. So 90 days after the start of the lease, we think that that's really fair, and that's our warranty there too.
Yeah,
Especially-
one thing I've found after building a new home and moving in is that it's the case with new construction as well.
You can't hide.
There's always something
There'll be something. Yeah.
Exactly.
little. So just to kind of help investors and with a peace of mind, we do cover that. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then after that maintenance guarantee and the renovations of the CapEx items, what does our maintenance ratio look like?
Our ratio sits at about 3%. So and that's been constant,
Yeah.
really, for as long as I can really remember.
Mhm.
So and that comes in multiple forms. You have some houses who go forever and never have a maintenance expense. You have maybe another house that there's a couple of things that came up that are higher than usual, and it's kind of a grab bag sometimes.
Yeah.
It can be a little difficult to predict, but sometimes it's managing tenants. Making sure that they're not making reasonable requests and things like that, kind of keeping that number down. So our maintenance team does a really good job of making sure that we're fixing things that only need to be fixed. Obviously,
right.
we want to protect the house. We want to keep the tenant, your customer, happy. So those are the two most important things, when it comes to maintenance, is protecting your asset and making sure your customer's happy.
So for our current investors, like when I know you guys get asked a lot of questions. I know you guys get asked a lot of questions about like all these notices and flyers that always get sent to everyone all of the time.
It comes with the territory.
It's extra mail.
Yeah, it comes with the territory. When you own rental property and you own investment property, you're going to have a couple of things. So
great cash flow.
Great cash flow. It's all sunshine and daisies. But okay. So one of the things that you might get is now the city, local government has your address. You're the owner of a house. So especially this time of year, we get a lot of notices that you might get some notices in the mail that your tenant's grass is too high. That's like the number one thing that we have that comes through. And I'm sorry, it's raining, it's hot, it's spring, like the weeds and grass are just going crazy. It's going, I have to cut my grass at least once a week or I'll probably get a notice too. So if you get one of those notices in the mail, don't freak out. It's fine. You're not going to get fined. It's going to be okay. Just let us know, send us a scan or a picture so we can get in touch with your tenant, let them know that they need to take care of the grass. By the time the letter's gotten to you, it's probably already been taken care of. 99% of the time, that's the case. But just send us those notices if you get them and we'll have it taken care of. Another one that I've gotten a lot of questions about recently too are cash offers for your houses. So I want to preface this by saying we do not share the personal information of any of our clients whatsoever. It's all very secure. We do not have any of that stuff. But your address is public knowledge at the tax office. And so you're going to have other real estate investors trying to buy your house for cash. Right. And they want you to call them and discuss a sale. They're probably going to offer you pennies on the dollar of what your house is actually worth. It's I cannot at all recommend going through with it, but who knows?
Up to you.
It's up to you as to how you'd like to pursue that, but it's safe to throw it in the mail. And again, we do not share our personal information.
It's very easy to generate those reports where it's like, hey, the owner's address and the property address, if they differ, it flags it.
And they send out 1,000 of them at a time.
Yep.
Exactly. So,
and I won't lie, that's how we get some of our property.
Yeah, that's kind of how we acquire a lot of our properties. So that's kind of the way it goes. Yeah.
So I've got a couple of questions. So going back to the renewal fee, just a little bit of clarification. So if we're talking about a $25 increase every month, if that's what we get on the renewal, then that only equals $300, but the renewal is $500. So that difference. And so maybe just talk a little bit more about not necessarily the increase, but the fee that is $500 for getting the renewal and what the alternative cost is. Right. Like kind of our average move out and then lease up fee and stuff, which is, can be anywhere from $1,000 to $2,000. Right. So dive in a little bit more on that.
So that renewal fee would be added at the beginning of that renewed lease, just like the leasing fee would be when the lease started. So your incoming rent is going to cover that $500 cost. So you're just going to have a little bit less income coming in that first month. But, with our move out repair costs are anywhere from like $1,400, I think is around what
that's usually what we averages
right now. And so with that, it could be higher. And then you're going to have, if we start a new lease, you're going to have that whole leasing fee again that's added on, that's equal to the first month's rent. So right there, you're already adding on so much extra cost rather than that $500 initial. Just
$500 is a fractional amount of money to pay versus the whole process of moving a tenant out and moving a new tenant in. It's
and I know the standard, the normal lease up, or I wouldn't say lease up fee. I think that's like the market. We call it leasing fee. Renewal. So your normal leasing fee is typically 1 month's rent. And we charge 1 month's rent but for 2-year
It's
leases.
for 2-year leases.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
that's the
So
difference.
that's a very big difference.
Right.
Kind of. So where did we come up with 500?
Mm-hmm.
And it's, saying like most of our rents are right at that 950 to 1,000. So it'd be
Right.
half of
Half
that.
Right.
But yeah, again, like what you were saying, in that our average lease time, while it's amazing right now for 2020,
Yeah.
24 days, that's still a month.
Yeah,
That's
I can't
still
really
a
do
month
the
of
I
you
can't do the
paying a
math
mortgage,
in my head, but
so-
I'm thinking, let's say conservatively, $1,500 for a move out, a lost month of rent, plus another month of rent for a leasing fee. So that's, we're looking at, that's like almost $2.5, $3,000 rather than
$3,000.
$500. So,
Right.
yeah,
That's
so
negative.
that's kind of where the value comes in.
Comes in,
And
right.
having
Versus
people who are
a
gonna renew your-
consistent tenant.
Yeah.
I mean, our average length of stay right now is 39 months.
Okay, it's
Right.
grown. That's great.
Yeah, so
Amazing.
we've gone up a month. It was
Yeah.
38 for a while, and I'm taking advantage of that.
Yeah.
Oh
extra
yeah,
month.
no, that's great. That means people are
Um,
staying more than 3 years. Yeah,
Right.
that's
So,
awesome.
that's kind of where we're sitting
Right.
for our whole portfolio. And just so you guys know, Alabama Rental Property has about 1,100 properties under management. It's a little over 1,100
Yeah.
right now. It's,
Right.
It's ever growing. But yeah, so I think that would be the point. It's not necessarily the difference between what increase you get. It's the
Right.
cost you save by
Yeah.
keeping the
The
tenant
same
longer.
tenant.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Another question. You talked about Scott. You talked about maintenance. So maintenance ratio 3%. What is like 3% of what?
Oh, so it's 3% of your yearly income.
So your rent. Your
Yeah, your
overall
yearly rent
rental
income.
revenue.
Yeah. So even on our IPDs, our pro formas or whatever, I think we even
No,
use.
we call it. We call everything
so many different
I know,
ways.
yeah, exactly.
Like,
Everyone calls it pro
Yeah,
forma.
exactly. We
Everything
call it
has 5
IPD, other people
different
call it
names,
pro forma.
yeah.
Yeah. I think even on our pro forma, we use 4 or 5%. I think we're pretty
Yeah, I
conservative.
think
We
it's a
use
little.
4,
Yeah, we're pretty
4.
conservative even in our own projections. So that would be 3% of your yearly rental income. And so, I mean, part of our sort of responsibility with the actual money ends when we send it to you, right? So you need to do what the most important things with that money is according to you.
Right.
Most people, it is paying your mortgage. I'd recommend that first and foremost.
Number
pay,
one.
Pay your
Yeah.
mortgage note, and then after that, that's your cash flow, right? So that's but you also, we would recommend putting aside a little bit of, little money in a bucket for maintenance, a little money in a bucket for future vacancy, like that. That would be the responsible.
Money in a bucket for a global pandemic.
Right,
Right.
pandemic or
You
whatever.
never know.
Exactly.
Just have a little bit of that reserve
So
set aside.
that's
for
kind
that.
of how we factor that in. So, that's entirely up to you. It's, some people save as much as 10 or 20% for vacancy or maintenance. Other people may just spend their cash flow on whatever, and that's fine. I don't,
Right.
whatever. It's up to you. But that's kind of how we factored in that 3%.
Right. And so when we're saying our maintenance ratio stays right at 3%, and we track it 13-week rolling, which is quarterly.
Mhm.
That's how we kind of display our financials. And so when we say 13-week, and then we track it 52-week,
Yep.
and then we track it monthly. So right now let's see, what month are we in? In COVID. June, we're at 2.8. So we're right there. We never get to 4.
Yeah.
But that's our whole
That's the whole portfolio. So of all the rent collected on 1,100
Right.
houses,
That's what we're
3%,
looking
whatever that money that is, hundreds of thousands, and then there's 3% would be what we spend on
Right.
maintenance for the whole portfolio.
And that's how we get that number. And that's the best way to project that, like the average.
It's the only way.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, you can't really do it property by property.
No.
It's almost
It'll
impossible.
be too. Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, we've had trees fall on houses. We've had lightning strike HVACs. That's,
Yeah.
I mean, those,
all
and
kinds of stuff.
it skews your maintenance costs, which we factor in, but that's why we use the average.
Yeah, that's the only real way that anyone can track it.
Right.
So that was the only only a few questions that we had. So do you guys want to say anything before we wrap this bad boy up?
Well, thank you guys so much for joining us again. We've really enjoyed doing this over the past couple of months. It's great to just kind of recap all that's happened. I know it's been a crazy year so far for everyone. So it's nice for all of us to kind of connect and stay on the same page with everything that's happening. But definitely continue to check in with Scott and myself with any other remaining questions that you may have or concerns with your properties. We're always here to help. But hopefully we can continue doing these so we can all stay up to date with everything together.
Yeah, these are a ton of fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I really like these. And
Yeah.
if you guys are watching and you want us to talk about something specific, so we're sending out emails asking for questions. You can submit questions to Scott and Amanda. Next month, we're going to have our sales team and closing coordinator back on with just them. So if you have sales directed questions, you know, submit them then. Go on our website, submit questions through that.
Right.
However you want to just pepper us with questions, please do so, because we want to.
Yeah, we need feedback.
Yeah, we
You know,
want
yeah.
feedback, and we want to know what information you guys
And
want.
what you want. Yeah.
Because
And
we want to
definitely-
talk about it. We'll talk
Right.
about the good, the bad, the ugly.
Yeah, we'll talk about
Everything.
whatever, yeah.
We're open
Yeah.
books,
We
and
are.
look out for our email for registration for the summit too. That's
Yes.
coming July 7th. It'll be open for registration, so please sign up. I think you'll get so much out of that
Yeah.
for sure. So we're really excited for that too. So
Yep.
look out for that email.
All right, thanks
Absolutely.
guys. Thank you so much
Thanks,
for
everybody.
joining us.